Hi, Ronie. How are you?
Hi, Lorraine. How are you?
I'm great now. I'm great. Thanks for joining me this evening.
No problem.
So we're just going to kick off with a couple of questions, I suppose, on how you got into adventure racing. Also, why do people call you Ronie and not Rosemary? So we might
Well, you can
we might
blame my
clear
little,
that one.
yeah, you can blame actually my big brother for that. Yeah. Um, he couldn't say Rosemary when he was small, so it turned into Roni, and it just stuck from there on. So most people I know that know me call me Roni. Even my mom or anyone in my family refers to me as Roni, and then Rosemary is my official name.
Okay. And let's say the adventure racing community, what would they kind of know you as?
I suppose anyone that knows me would probably say Roni.
Yeah,
And then they didn't really know me too much, they'd probably refer to my name on the race number as Rosemary. So
yeah,
I answer
yeah.
to anything that begins with R, really. So like,
You're
doesn't
happy
matter.
enough.
I've been called a lot of things. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Well, at least we've cleared that up because that has been, some people have wondered about that, so that's good to know. Um, I suppose just looking like you were adventure racing a good while now, and I suppose like were you always sporty, Roni, or was it only in later years that you got into sport, or were you doing it as a child as well? Were you running or anything?
Yeah, I did run as a child. I ran actually a lot of cross country as a child. Here in my own local athletics club, the Lockery Athletics Club. And I guess I ran athletics for my school. In secondary school, we had a little team. We actually won a couple of All Irelands, but I was kind of like the fourth scorer on the team. I was kind of, you know, making up numbers really. I
Okay.
enjoyed it, but I was making up the numbers. The girls were amazing. They all went on and got scholarships for America and everything. I never got anything like that. I was just, in the background making up the numbers for the medals. But I always loved running, I suppose. That was always my sport initially. And I didn't. Then I went on after school. I ran a good bit when I was in the army. I was on the athletics team there.
Okay.
Um, and I suppose, and I ran actually for Tullamore Harriers for a number of years. I was part of a senior girls team there for a number of years. It was my closest club to here because we didn't have an adults athletics club here then. So
Okay.
I ran for them. And I suppose after that, my running career kind of came to an end and I took up triathlon. I thought I'd give that a shot and I set up a triathlon club here in my town
Wow.
called the Lanesborough Triathlon Club,
Yeah.
which it's turned into a massive club now. Um, I'm kind of in the background in it now. I'm not really over anything in it. I just got it running. I suppose that must be about 13 years ago at this stage. So I did triathlon for a while. And then I think I did my first adventure race in 2013. Derek, my husband, actually introduced me to my first adventure race up in
Okay.
Donegal. I
Right.
think it was a Sea to Summit or Shore to Summit or something like that.
Okay.
And I absolutely hated it. Oh my God, I nearly died. It was the hardest thing I ever did in my life. At the
Okay.
time, I thought it was, and then when it was finished, I was like, "Oh, when's the next one?"
Yeah. 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 You
So
enjoyed it.
I think it kind of brought me back to my cross country days a little bit as well because running through the muck and the crap and the bog and the
Yeah.
wet and everything, it kind of brought that feel back, and I just loved it from there. But now I wasn't competitive at it for a long time. I never featured anywhere. I was just tipping away doing the odd adventure race here and there in between triathlons and stuff. So
And I suppose
yeah.
just what, like, as you said, Derek introduced you to the one up in Donegal, and I suppose that being your first one, obviously you were well used to being on the bike and running and stuff like that with triathlon. Were you doing the sprint triathlons or the longer distance
Yeah.
triathlons as well before you kind of,
Yeah,
yeah,
I done quite a few sprints and Olympics, had a few half Ironmans and had a couple of full Ironmans. Um, in me, I suppose. And then he introduced me to adventure racing, and I introduced him to Ironman.
Okay.
And we both hated each other equally for them. Derek had to learn to swim, and
Yeah.
I had to learn how to go up hills again. So, it was
Yeah.
equally as hard. So,
Oh,
yeah.
good. So,
But then
like,
we both.
I suppose then, like after your first one, as you said, you probably, it takes a couple of years, I think, too, when you change into adventure racing before you kind of get a real feel for it. Like, it's very hard to come in and just be up
Yeah.
there. You kind of have to work your way up a little bit, and it's a kind
Oh gosh,
not
yeah.
not that it's a different fitness, but it is different because you have the mountains in it. So even though you would have been very fit from the triathlon side of things, how did you find, the whole, I suppose, circuit for the adventure racing, like that there's so many races on in the year, and then to be involved in the series, let's say if you were trying to, go for the series and be in the top three for that or something. So when did all that begin to take off for you? Was it like 2015 or a little bit
Yeah,
earlier
I
or?
think I think I did Clarny in 2015. Um, just as a kind of a weekend away. And I remember doing the expert, and I think I came somewhere in the top 10 or 12. And I kind of said to myself, "Geez, for someone who doesn't really do this crack, I'm not doing too bad." And I loved it so much. I enjoyed it so much, that
Mm,
kind of way. And then
mm,
it kind of sowed the seed for me to kind of think about it a little bit more. But I didn't know how to when I was still trying to do triathlon and Ironman.
yeah.
And then, so 2016, I had another baby, and I did another Ironman after her. And then 2017, I had Owen, the last baby. And then when that ship had completely and utterly sailed and I was done with having babies, I said, right, let's get this arse in gear again and see what we can do. So I was going to go back and do more Ironmans, and I said, no, I found my love for the mountains,
Yeah.
um, and I wanted to just see how I could get on if I actually did a bit more adventure racing. And
Yeah.
I kind of like the season is a bit longer, to be honest.
Mm,
I found the triathlon season very short, and I'm just getting into it when it's over nearly. So I quite like that it started kind of March and went all the way through to like October, November.
yeah.
You know, keeps me moving all year round.
Yeah, exactly. And like I think you probably did one of the long quest ones as well. I think you did was it the 12 or the 24-hour quest
Yeah,
before as well.
I did. I originally set out to do the 24-hour in Sneem,
Mm,
and a few months before, I think about 6 months before that, Derek got sick, and he was going to do the 24-hour as well. We were both doing it together, and we were both training for it together.
hmm.
And then he got sick, and we didn't know what was going to happen once he got sick. So we both decided to pull back to the 12. We thought
Yeah.
that might be a bit more realistic. And yeah, we both did the 12, and like I had only done it to kind of to do it. It wasn't to compete in it or anything like that. I'd done it to just get through it.
Yeah.
And I ended up coming second in that one.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, okay, that wasn't too bad,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So now I probably shouldn't have came second. Just when I got to the top of Devil's Ladder, going up Karen 2, somebody told me I was second, and then the split personality set in, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh,
Got to
I'm
keep
here now.
going
I have
now.
to stay here.
Yeah.
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 So that was kind of the reason I came second in that.
Yeah.
And then it kind of grew legs from there. Then I just said, oh, I actually really love this, so I'm just going to go at it a bit more.
Yeah, and it's a nice
Yeah.
community too. I think the adventure race and everyone's really nice. They're very I think respectful on the mountain, and if you're biking,
Oh
like there's
yeah.
lots of chatting. Whereas I think sometimes maybe in the triathlons it's a little bit more not so chatty maybe.
Oh, absolutely. Like, gosh, you can be doing an adventure race, and this is what I love about adventure race. You can be doing a race, and you can be like in fourth place absolutely working really hard alongside third place and having a conversation at the same time and helping each other along.
Mm.
You know, you would never have that. I have never experienced it in triathlon. You know,
Yeah.
that's what I like. Or,
Yeah.
you know, if you're running up a mountain, somebody will always give you some encouragement. You could be competing against them, or you mightn't be competing against them, but you know, they'll always get some encouragement, which is just
Yeah.
lovely, you
Yeah.
know, and it does have a very friendly community around it, you know.
I think too, being able to do a bit of work together on the bike helps as well. So if you're drafting off one another and you can work with a couple of the lads as well, I think that definitely really helps with the community as well because you get to know people like really well.
Oh yes, yes, definitely. Like gosh, even this year doing Killarney, I'm not a great descender. I've had one or two tumbles, and we were coming down the after the gap of Dunlow, coming down the other side, going downhill. Of course, I lost everybody, and this guy came up behind me and he says, "Oh, come on, tuck in behind me and keep up." And I was like, "Well, we're going downhill, so I'm not sure if I'll be able, but sure, I'll try." So I tried to hang on to him as best I could. And when I got up beside him, he started talking and then he said, "Are you Rosemary?" And I says, "Yeah, I am. How did you know?" And he goes, "We did this exact cycle last year together. Do you not remember me?" And I was like, "Oh, sorry."
Do you remember him now though?
I know. Do you know, and he goes, "And do you remember we did Mangerton as well?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, like,
Yeah.
yeah, okay."
Yeah. It's gas
And we
that
ended up
way.
doing the whole entire race again for the second year in a row.
Ah, brilliant.
You know,
But
you couldn't make that up, like, you know.
yeah, yeah. Like it's
Yeah.
great. You could have great experiences. And I think that's one of the nice things about it. Whereas I suppose not comparison again with triathlon and adventure racing, but with the triathlon, like you can't draft, so you're either overtaking or you're staying
Yeah.
well back. You know,
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
so there isn't too much time to talk there either. Yeah,
Yeah, and then the runs are about speed, you know, and you're working so hard. You can just about breathe, never mind,
yeah,
you know, utter a word to somebody, you know.
yeah, yeah.
Whereas
Especially on
going
those
up a
sprints.
mountain, chances are you might get beside each other and you're both like slogging it out. So you're
Yeah,
gonna try and help each other, you know.
yeah, exactly. It's
Uh,
like a fast hike, a good hike session going up the mountain. Coming down is
yeah,
a
that's
different
it.
story, but yeah,
Yeah, look, everybody knows once you turn around, it's every man for himself to get down as
yeah,
quick as they can, you know.
yeah,
So
yeah. And it's the concentration watching
the
the
concentration, watching the
footfall.
ground, you can't lift your head to say anything or look at anyone. So
Yeah.
that's just it.
It's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
it on the descent.
But we all know everybody's in the same boat, so everybody understands that everybody's in the same boat. So,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, exactly. No, they do. They definitely do.
Mhm.
And I suppose after, let's say, like even this year now, you mentioned that Derek was sick, and thankfully everything seems to be all good there, which is great
Yeah.
news. Yeah, and
Yes.
you you were able to get back out and do a few races this year as
Yeah.
well.
Last year was a tricky year, like gosh, you know.
Yeah,
Um it had a good start to the year. Things went over the cliff a little bit with Derek's health, and I actually I only did the last two races of the series because my family kicked me out to do it just for
yeah,
a break from everything. I don't actually really remember them too much. Do you know when you're that stressed?
yeah.
Um, I do remember in Killarney, Ger Kelly giving me a counselling session while the two of us were trying to help each other up the Mall's Gap.
No matter, woman.
I swear, it, it was so good. Like she knew I was struggling really bad, and I was hanging on for dear life. And we just had a chat, and we got each other up. And then she was gone, and never seen her for dust after that. But you
Yeah.
know, that's what you get in adventure racing, you know. And
Mm.
this year, then I wasn't sure how he would be at the start of the year, so I didn't really make too many big plans this year. I just was taking it race from race to race and training
Yeah.
session to training session. You know, there's been no structure to my year this year with just making sure he got back to full health and
Yeah.
just jumping in where I can jump in and holding on. And like, in fairness, I actually had some really good outcomes this year, but they weren't for the want of training or anything like that. I
Yeah.
think I was just so happy and excited to be able to get out and race,
Yeah.
when it
Yeah.
came around. But yeah, everything is going good now. So I think we
Great.
might get life back on track now for next year, hopefully.
Great. And your
Yeah.
mom does a bit of the adventure racing as well. It's always great to see the two of you at the finish line. It's really nice.
Mom's a legend. Like, she's when we were younger growing up, Mom was always we live in a small village. Mom comes from Kerry, so she comes from the mountains. So being stuck in a little village like Lanesborough in the bog, surrounded by nothing but bog and peat and water, you know, must have been hard for her when we were growing up. So, Mum was always the one that was out doing a little bit of jogging, with a hoodie on so nobody noticed who she was. Or, you know,
Yeah.
we kind of grew up looking at Mum doing stuff like that. And she always did a little bit of cycling. And when we all started doing adventure racing and running, sure, all she wants to do is come and enjoy the weekend with us. So we're like, well, you're going to have to actually do a bit,
Yeah.
So I think she did her first adventure race in 2015.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, she did. She did Killarney. I remember she asked, was it 2015? It was, yes, because I was expecting Murren. And she said, oh, I'd love to do one of them. And I said, that's great. And sure, why don't you?
Yeah.
She said, well, I can't kayak. Sure, I've never sat in a kayak. And I was trying to convince her that there were double sit-on tops, and we'll go up the canal in a kayak and I teach you how to do it. And I think I was about 7 months pregnant,
Oh
sitting in
God.
this kayak saying, God, if we roll over, I'll have loads of buoyancy, Matt. Don't worry, we'll be grand. So once she learned how to do a little bit, she said, right, that's grand, I'll do one. So I said, make sure you jump into a kayak with the biggest lad you can find when you get there
Yeah.
and
Bit
sit
of
behind
power.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah, sit behind him and just copy what he's doing. And she never looked back. She was like somebody that was high running around the place. It was so funny.
Wow. That's great
So
though.
she tries to do one or two every year just to keep
Yeah.
herself ticking over.
Yeah, no,
She
it's
loves them.
great. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
And they're so accessible, I think, for everyone to do the
Oh,
adventure
they are, and they
racing.
cater for everyone. Like,
Mm.
mum does the challenge distance, which is for her at her age is plenty enough, and
Yeah.
it keeps her training then during the week so she can something to work towards and
Yeah.
get her out, So
Yeah.
it's good. It's good to keep them moving and motivated and keep everyone involved. My brothers then come home. We pick one race every year where the whole family does. So it's usually one of the quest races so that everybody has an option depending on how fit they are, what
Okay.
they can do.
Yeah.
So you've got
On
the
the day.
challenge. Yeah. So we generally do one every year with all of us. So my two brothers will arrive as well, and
Brilliant.
Derek, my husband, and all. So it's an excuse for a night out then as well.
Absolutely. And great crack for everyone. And it's nice to go out and do something beyond the mountains for the day as well. I mean, it's great. Yeah, it's really
That's
good.
it. And my two older kids did one last year as well. Lauren did, I think, was it Glendalough,
Mm.
and Kevin did one as well. So we're slowly recruiting the whole entire extended family in as well.
Fair play to you. Fair play. Getting them all on board.
Yeah, we're all on board
Brilliant.
now, lads.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
You were, I met you at the final race of the season, below in Westport. A tough race. I think it was a tough race for a lot of people. Well, it's plus that it's at the end of the season as well. Like, you're kind of tired when it comes around. I always know, like, it's always one that I go, oh God, I don't know, do I want to race it or don't I? Like. How did it go for you? I know you had a bit of a fall. I hope everything's all right with you at the moment. But in general, how were you feeling on the last one of the season?
Yeah, like yourself, the last one of the season, I was hemming and hawing about what I was going to do.
Mm.
I actually had entered that, I don't know how many years in a row, and something happens this time of the year where I never seem to get there. So this was actually my first time to get down there to see the summit. Um, yeah, my daughter Lauren was doing the shorter distance, so I wasn't going to let her go by herself. So that made my mind up for me. So I went down with
Yeah,
her. Yeah, logistically slightly different. I hate the run start ones. Gosh,
I
I don't know
know.
why. It's just
Me
me
too.
personally in general. I
No,
prefer a
I do
bike
too.
start for some reason.
Yeah.
Probably because I don't have to figure out where I'm going to leave the bike the night before.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you're rushing from work and kids and trying to figure out where to register and where to leave your bike the night before, logistically in my head that goes, oh, I
Yeah.
just roll up to the start line on the bike is handier.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's just me. Yeah, look, it got off to a good start. Got very, I'd say, very busy on the mountain. Being not the best descender in the world, I have to concentrate probably more than other people. And I guess I had an unfortunate accident coming towards um, the bottom of Crow Patrick where the guy behind me just clipped my heel
Yeah.
and I took flight in full sprint. When you're not expecting a fall and it happens, you
Mm.
kind of you're not ready to land properly. So
Yeah.
I took a lot of cuts and bruises, and I suppose my right knee just went buff straight away. So I had a couple of very deep cuts there. So I
Yeah.
haven't been able to do anything since. But I'm hoping maybe in the next week or two I might be able to get back
Get back.
doing a little bit. Yeah,
Yeah.
this winter training needs to kick off soon now.
Who are you telling? Who are you
Before I
telling?
start turning into a couch potato.
I hear you. I hear you. Yeah, like it is. That mountain is. Oh, it can be carnage up there. Like especially if it's wet. I think 'cause it's so grey that you like. I know for you, you were taken down more so than that you went down yourself. But like a lot of people tend to fall up there, and it's just that the rocks are there and you can't really see them, and then your foot is getting caught in them, and it's a bit of
Yeah,
a
yeah,
nightmare.
it's a grey area. Like in fairness, in adventurous racing, you have to be prepared to take a little tumble every now and again. I've
Mm,
taken plenty.
hmm.
Normally, if they're your own fault, you're going to land, that
Yeah,
kind of way. But when it's something else and you don't know you're going to fall, it's slightly different.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I found the steps actually hard enough. On Kilpatrick, I did in Gale Force as well, I have to say. It's just because there's not one step the same as the next step.
yeah. Very
It's
hickledy
very
pickledy.
difficult yeah, and I think I preferred the older kind of surface up there. At least there was a little bit of give in them stones
Yeah,
coming down, but there's no give in the steps. You will fall there, you're going to fall hard, and that's
yeah,
no matter whose fault it is, you're going to fall hard.
yeah, yeah.
Wasn't digging the steps too much either, like, but
And it's hard, like mentally, it's hard coming down those steps, like, 'cause you're really focused on them. I
yeah,
think going up it's not too bad, but
yeah.
definitely coming down, it's a real mental job, like.
Yeah, I actually remember from Gale Force, like I was exhausted by the time I got to the bottom of the steps from
Mm,
sheer concentration, I think.
yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah. You
really
would
did
like,
have to concentrate coming down there. Like most
yeah,
most mountains, you can kind of throw yourself down a bit. Worst that's going to happen, you might slide in the muck or the grass.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they're tricky. Yeah, tricky surfaces.
So, what is the plan for Roni for 2024? What are you hoping to do? Is there triathlons on the horizon, adventure racing?
There's always loads of plans, Lorraine.
Oh,
It's all about how many applications I get signed to do those plans.
yes, yes.
I suppose, of course, the adventure racing season is going to be incorporated into any plans that I have. I do have a plan for a couple of ultras maybe this year.
Okay,
I did
very
one
nice.
ultra last year. I did Sleep League Ultra last year and I really loved it. It was my first time to try an ultra, so I would like to give it a better shot this year. So maybe Seven Sisters. Nothing like a really hard challenge like.
Yeah, like I mean,
Uh,
if you're gonna go do one, do a hard one. Yeah,
Sure
why
love.
not?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you'll earn your bread and
Um,
butter that day.
I know.
Oh,
Um, I might do. if I do a triathlon, it'll probably be something like a bucket list one, to be honest, and maybe
Okay.
something a little bit extreme. So I've no will to do an Ironman, so it'll have to be something in between that. So I'm having a nosy to see
Yeah.
maybe an adventure triathlon or something like that. I wouldn't
Yeah.
rule one of those out. I haven't entered anything yet. I'm just exploring with ideas, and obviously the logistics of dragging a load of kids and everything to them. So
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Does it kind of keep you
we'll
busy?
work it.
Yeah.
We'll work
Yeah.
it. Yeah. So I have a bit of downtime now. The more downtime I have with this injury, the more I'm going to plot and plan. So it's probably in everyone's best interest that I get back training soon.
Oh God. Yeah. Yeah. Like when you have time to be on the computer looking at stuff and it's like, oh, that looks nice. I want a bit of that. Yeah. Yeah.
Hit
I
an
hear
enter
you.
button here, hit an enter
Yeah.
button there.
Up to date.
Yeah, I know. And now Derek is back to full health. He's going to want to do a couple of races as well. So
Yeah.
it'll be a game of tag teaming and seeing how many babysitters are available to
To
squeeze
help
in as
out.
much as we can. That's it. Might
Exactly.
incorporate a holiday somewhere. You'd never even know,
Yeah. Yeah. Why not? Why not?
Sure. Yeah. It'll be a busy year anyway, I can assure you that.
Okay, well, that's good. Well, hopefully we'll catch up with you at some point again next year. And Ronie, thanks so much for taking the time out to have a chat with us today. I really
No
appreciate it.
problem.
I know lots of people would be familiar with you on the circuit, so it'll be great for them to get a bit of an insight as well. So thanks very much,
No problem.
and we'll
Hi to all
talk.
my adventure racing buddies. I'll see you all soon, hopefully in March.
Brilliant.
No worries. Thanks, Lorraine.
No problem. 1 second.